Hi everybody, it's Chris here from the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. Just to let you know, as always, this podcast is now part of the 90-Minute Football Network and proudly sponsored by www.pt-4-u.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Over Smile Faces podcast on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. As you can see, I am joined by Mark, I am joined by Decker. First question of the night. Decker, have you been dyeing your beard?
Do not adjust your settings or your colour or contrast.
No, I haven't. No,
Are you sure?
almost positive.
Have you dyed your beard?
No.
He hasn't dyed it. He's used mascara.
Does
on
it look darker? Like
He's coloured it in with mascara.
I don't know how. It doesn't look any darker to me.
All right, David Guest.
I don't think it looks any darker.
Right. Hi everybody. Back to
Maybe
business.
he's been to Turkey for a beard transplant.
No, I didn't come with you.
So, as you can see, Bestie is not here tonight. We have had our very own internal vote of confidence. We decided Bestie is off the show.
Oh, is he?
Evening, Prime Minister. Boys, Newcastle United. Where do we start on this one? It's been a week. We have had the news today. Dan Ashworth officially appointed, being given Premier League approval. Didn't take 2.5 years this time. Once again, we're not going to spend too much time on this subject because we did go through it in a lot of detail last week. But statement, we finally got that statement from the club. And it seems like he has got his hands full, Mark. Lots of job titles under this official technical director role.
He's going to be a busy man, isn't he? And that's it's a good thing to see. He's going to be responsible for a lot of various roles that should hopefully bring us a lot of success. And that's what we're looking for from him.
It will. Decker, anything to add on Dan Ashworth this week?
No, I think
we'll just move on to the questions.
Well, I think we covered him an awful lot last week, didn't we?
Do you think he turned up at Benton this morning and had to go into in the security office and get his photo taken against a white background like that? So you get a lanyard.
I would probably say so. Yeah, I'd probably
go
say
around
so.
with his pass on and that.
I just wonder if, obviously, I know he's got all these titles and all these responsibilities now, but I would imagine there'll be more. Maybe other people will come in and maybe just take a share of that load eventually.
Otherwise, his job title on his pass is going to be massive, isn't it?
Oh, it is,
yeah.
You'd
have to get one of them huge playing card styles, wear it around his neck like that,
like a chain.
But he's in, and that's what we wanted. And it hasn't took as long as we thought. And it was funny because when I went on social media, I think one of them was a Sunderland fan, in fairness, but there was some other ones going I can't believe nothing's happening. He's in and no movement's happening. I'm thinking, well, he actually technically wasn't in. He's in now. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
So it's 4 days officially until the transfer window opens, I believe. It does mean that business can't be done because we've seen that with our clubs. Villa have got a full new roster by the looks of it with players they're bringing in. But the one which is being mentioned quite a lot is Hugo Ekitike. Which one is it?
Ekitike.
No idea.
Ekitike.
However you pronounce it. And this is the point of the show where we pretend we know who this kid is. We look back over his playing career and we try and blag our way through the next 20 minutes. I'm not going to lie. My knowledge is from Dennis Wise Scrapbook. So it's a YouTube video. That's all I've been watching. YouTube videos to see what sort of player he is.
How did he look on YouTube, Chris?
Do you want an honest opinion or do you want the opinion that people want to hear?
I've got an opinion. Let's see if it matches.
Right. Okay.
He reminded me of a certain player.
So a lot of these videos you see on YouTube, it glamorizes the player, to put it nicely. It makes them look a hell of a lot better than what they actually are. Like I'm going to say to you, and I'm going to say I've never seen him play a game of football watching live. I can only say what I've seen on YouTube. The highlight reel, he looked fantastic at getting past the player, but I'm not sure if this was just badly edited video, but I never saw him complete a pass. It just kept on cutting off every time it came close. And This is
I can't take another. He's finished. He's an end product. I can't take it. I can't.
And the couple of goals which it does, I think he scored 10, I think, last season,
Can't
and
take
it
it.
was his breakthrough season. So we don't know what sort of player he is going to be. It's probably a risk by the club bringing him in, because God knows if it's a one-off season that he's had in professional football, or if it's going to go the other way. But to me, the posture and the way he moved, Sammy Ameobi.
Exactly who I was thinking.
I think
of.
it's just the what he
gait.
looks like.
Long, lanky, skinny
Yes.
legs.
Basically that, and I'm not convinced
look at
of
these
that
comments.
video. I'm not convinced of the video, but that's not saying me he is a bad player. It's definitely not.
But the positive side of things is I've seen a few scouting reports.
But it's
and-
not Sammy Ameobi.
and when you look at that side of things of around what he's capable of, what his strengths are, what he's forecast to do, then it gives you a little bit more hope.
Yeah.
So he's hope.
On the video, I did see him put balls in decent areas. He was very good at beating a player. He was really good at that. Very similar to Sammy Ameobi. I didn't know how he'd done it at times, but he managed to do it.
Yeah.
And he seems for such a skinny lad, he seemed quite strong as well. He was shrugging players off left, right, and centre on this video. The couple of goals which he scored, they weren't world-class videos. I think one of them was a massive deflection. The other one was a penalty, which was the worst penalty I've ever seen in my life, which was saved and it just fell back out to him. Something which I would have probably left off the highlight reel, if I'm being honest with you. But I think he needs to beef up a lot if he's going to be a success in the Premier League. And that's all I can say about it, to be fair. And like Mark said there, if you look at projection-wise and the season that he's had so far, he got assist a couple of nights ago, maybe last night, for French's.
Yeah, got through the semi-finals.
Yeah. So he does look like a player that could be natured into a very good player. But for me, it's one of those ones where it's a flip of a coin.
It's a bit of a rough diamond at the minute, isn't he? I think that when you look at those highlights, in fairness to him, I think they're from a little while ago.
Yeah.
So he started playing out as a left-sided midfielder and has then been used as a bit of a left forward. So when you think of it like that, you might think that, is he coming as a bit of a competition for Saint to be playing on the left and stuff like that? But through this season, he's transitioned more into the centre and been a bit more of the focal point of the attack rather than that left of a 3 or the left of a 2. So, and then that's where his goals have started coming from. So he's, as you've just said, he's big plus point is his pace. He's very, very fast. He's rapid. That's what allows him to get there. Looking at that,
Age is a massive benefit. He's only 19.
He's only
so he's a raw product.
a young lad. So, and again, that's that raw talent that he seems to have. And with good coaching and obviously age and playing the game more, then you would expect them to improve, get all of those things, even better. And I think that's where that value of looking forward and that potential that he has is coming from.
And he has been linked with some top teams, Decker, as well. It's not just Newcastle. He's been linked with PSG, Man United, I think, as well. We're linked with him. So as far as we're being quite comical about it, and the clip that we saw on YouTube, of course,
I haven't been. Can I just say I'm not part of this at the minute?
Of course, he looks like he will be a cracking player. He does. But for me, it's that Premier League is just a whole different thing.
I think, let's be fair, right? Any player that you buy, any player you buy is a gamble in a sense, right? Unless you look at sometimes you look at people that have got a pedigree. So, for example, I'll point to Trippier. We know he's got experience. He's been around the block. He's played the Premier League. So that doesn't seem like a gamble. But any young kid that you're going to bring in, it's a gamble, right? It just is. It just is. And I don't think there's anything wrong. What to the opposite side of this is it does annoy us when I go on to Twitter. I don't go on as much now because it just does me in.
Too busy dying his beard.
Yeah, true. You see shit like this player's going to be the greatest ever. He's the next Mbappe and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, realistically, how much have you seen of him play? Like, YouTube hasn't even got that much because he's that young. He hasn't actually played that much football. But obviously, you're kind of hoping that, of course, the scouts have obviously have seen something in him. They know he's going to be a good player, etc., etc. And it's all potential. You're just basing the entire thing on potential. Yeah. And that's a gamble. Potential's a gamble.
Of course it is, but I think that the good thing for us is that we'll have a coach in Eddie Howe there at the moment. If you put that under a certain someone that we'll probably talk about later in the show, previous management, he'll fail at the first hurdle.
100%.
He will.
Well, I think also that's why it was good he didn't come in January,
Mm.
if I'm being honest, because
Yeah.
we were linked with him in January, and if you think of his age and that, and probably wasn't right, was it? Really, because we were
both
needing
sides.
someone to come in. That's what I mean. Both sides. It wasn't right for him or us. That we were wanting someone to come in because Wilson was out to just go right. You're up front, bang, get on with it. It wouldn't have worked. It would not have worked. I think honestly, we would have seen perhaps people saying, "We need to get rid of him in the summer. We need to move on from this kid. He's not good enough." Blah blah blah. Something like the Joe Linton scenario. But I think with us, maintaining survival, if you like, and being in the Premier League, now it is a better time for him to come. We've got Wilson back fit for how long we kind of never know, but you've got Wood there as well, and he will be that third choice that can come in and chip in as and when we may need him and get experience and all the rest of it, learn the league, all the rest of it.
There's a great shout from Callum Lewis that says plus experience of Wilson will help Hugo too.
Got it, hasn't it? Got it,
yeah,
absolutely.
Because he seems to be a very instinctive type of striker, of like, just as I say, using his pace to get him into those positions of where he needs to be, where the ball can arrive at him and stuff like that. Whereas having somebody like Callum Wilson there, who is, a natural striker with age on his side and experience, he'll be able to help him out and, say, rather than making this run, just do this run, run in the channel. Because he's very much that type of striker that'll work hard, find space, use his movement and stuff like that. But when you look at somebody of that age, then, you could potentially have a player like, Thierry Henry, who was that sort of player at that age of playing out on the left, kind of coming in. We're sort of with like Remy in the very short time that he was here. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere near those two players, but when those two players started out, they weren't the finished article. They were very rough and ready.
Every
Henry
player
particularly was very, very rough when he first came in, and look what he turned out to with time and a good coach and a good manager. So
I think no matter which way we look at it, and it's an exciting time bringing the likes of young talent into the football club, something which we probably haven't been used to for God knows how long. I think you
Perez,
could probably argue possibly Cabela, because he would have been young when we brought him, I imagine. Somebody that's you're looking at once again, you're looking at his YouTube hits, and he looks like a fantastic player.
That was Cabela and Tovan, weren't the two, weren't they?
I like Tovan,
Tovan went on, had a great impact after he left Newcastle.
He's a good player.
He made the French squad, if I remember right, afterwards. And by all means, we are not writing this player off, because I am excited to see the prospect of it if it does happen.
He's still a little bit wary, and I think given his age and the fact that he's only really had one season, then he's probably right to just be a little bit cautious on it. I mean, in an ideal world, you'd probably like to see him have a little bit longer in that league, get a bit more experience. You're probably expecting in normal circumstances to maybe him to then move to another club within the French league, somebody a bit higher up the table that's going to give him a bit more experience, maybe a bit of European football and stuff like that, and then see a big move. But it's getting in early, isn't it? That's
I mean, in terms of him being worried, I mean, I was reading a few quotes from Bruno there saying that he was having sleepless nights and that, thinking about, is he making the right decision and all the rest of it. And it's a huge step. He's a kid. He's just a kid. It's a huge move. And like, I don't know that it's one of them where obviously we could be at the front of the queue. And I think that the one thing that gives me a lot of confidence is obviously the teams that were linked with him, Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester United. Like, in fairness, right? Like, if them are looking at him, he must have something. No doubt about it. And if we're there and we've got the capital to be able to get it done, let's go and do it.
If our name is there, to be fair, if our name is even linked with those clubs, and it's obviously he's going to come to Newcastle and choose Newcastle United, if everybody else is going to put an official bid in for him, then that just shows the pull that we have at this moment in time.
Yeah.
About the future of the football club.
Yeah. It's a huge decision for him, like for the age he is and that. You think to come here and because like, let's be fair, right? Every no doubt about his dream is probably to play in the Premier League. It probably will be. I think every player's dream probably is to play, and you get an opportunity to do it so soon. You need to make it right, don't you? Because you don't want to come and flop and then go away and maybe never come back again. So it's a huge decision. Like, but I just think the way the club's set up now, the players that we've currently got in place, as I mentioned last week, we're not relying on him to come in game one. We're not asking him to do that, and I think that'll help us and him. That's what's the most positive about it, I think.
Yeah. But once again, as always, we put our trust in the likes of those recruiting the players and Eddie Howe to obviously form that team. And if it's anything like what we're experiencing in January, then it's a bright future once again. The one which I want to mention now, and before we do so, if everyone does want to send any comments in, by all means do so, and we will go through as many questions as possible once again tonight. We were speaking about this player just before we went on air, Deck, and I'll come to you because you had a quick check there before, like I said, we went live. Botman, Tobias says he was looking forward to Botman, but sounds like he's going to Milan. Your thought on it, lads?
Well, I said just before we went live when I had seen a comment which I completely got misread off here. Jack Buddy put it in and I totally misread what he meant. So I apologize for that. I'm only going to just be honest, right? I'm going to be honest, right? And I apologize if it offends anyone, but it doesn't bother me because I didn't know much about him, if that makes sense. So, all right, we haven't got him. It doesn't, he might be the next Maldini for all I know. But like, all I'm saying is I didn't know much about him. So, and if I'm being really honest in regards to the club he's going to, you can't blame the guy. Like, I mean, you've got Maldini here who's running the things at, as a director level, like a director at football level. Sorry, is Maldini. If he's pulling your leg saying he wants you to be part of his club, is anyone ever going to turn that down? I'd be surprised. Like, the
greatest central defender to play football, asking you to go and be a central defender for him. It's
for the Italian champions, current champions. There's no doubt about it. The guy's going to go there, and good luck to him. Like, I respect that decision without any doubt. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just a shame for us that. Well, I say a shame, but it's also nice to know that we are going for a player that the likes of AC Milan are going for. We're not fighting out with no disrespect, but Wolves and Brighton's for a player. We're going for a player that the champions of Italy are going for. So I guess that's a good thing. But maybe if we had gotten it done in January, we might have would have been done, right? Because we were linked then and we would have gotten ahead of the queue, but it wasn't to be. Similar to the Villa situation with Carlos, if we were waiting for him. But it doesn't bother us too much because also what I'll say is I'm not overly worried about that position. I still think we need a body there. I do, but it doesn't scream to me that we desperately need someone. Someone will probably come and go, what happens if someone happens to Burn? It's a good question. It's a good question because then you've got Lascelles coming back in. It's a good question.
I think that's the key thing that's kind of eased the panic in defence is Dan Burns came in and done brilliantly in the 5 months that he's kind of been here. So that's almost taken a little bit of the pressure off. But
and Shea's become a player, the player that he was.
We've seen the share that we've all known has been in there, but has been a little bit missing at times. It's then looking at kind of what's then behind them because, like you see, you've got Lascelles, you've got Fernandez and Kieran Clark, probably Dummett, possibly to go in there. So the strength and depth isn't great. No. So you'd want to reinforce, and you'd imagine Kieran Clark's going to be away for sure. Fernandez, maybe. There's talk about Lascelles maybe going back to Forest. So
I think if Botman doesn't happen, which certainly by his comments tonight about Milan, it seems that all of the eggs are in one basket.
It seems that's the move he wants.
It does. And
which, as Deck has just said, you kind of blame him. No. If it's a straight choice of where Newcastle are at this moment in time versus AC Milan, then as a footballing decision, you're going to AC Milan. No matter how much with
no pull strings to the club, obviously we would all choose us, of course we would, and loads of other players might because they might have some kind of maybe their dream is to play in the Premier League. But for him, as I've said, being approached by Maldini, he singled him out personally. That's really hard to get away from. It really, really is because I imagine he's one of his all-time heroes.
Champions League football straight away, challenging at the top of Serie A. It's a no-brainer. Really,
what's also important to remember is, all right, yes, okay, we might have lost out on Botman. We will bring in a centre half. There will be another couple on that list, probably millions on that list, to be fair, known anyhow. But there'll be a couple that are up there that they rate just as highly as Botman, and they'll move on for that individual. So I wouldn't worry about too much.
He's not going to be the first, and he's not going to be the last player that gets linked to this football club that goes to a different one. It's something which we need to get used to as a fan base because it's never really been the case before because we weren't linked with many players under Ashley.
Well, when you're linked to 700 players a week, then it's inevitable some of them aren't going to come.
So the situation we're in at the moment, being the richest club in the world, as everyone likes to tag us as at the moment, is we're going to get linked with every single player, left, right, and centre, and that's just down to agents trying to get a decent move or a upgraded contract for their clients and their players. For me, yes, it would have been great to see him come in. Of course, it would have been, but I think the comments today doesn't it's not a clear cut. Oh, I'm off to Milan. It's far from that. There's still a deal to be done at the end of the day, and I'm pretty sure the Italian clubs are normally a nightmare to deal with when buying and selling players. So God knows what can happen. It might be a case where that might fall through, and Newcastle United is second on the list. And if we're second on the list to AC Milan, so be it. So be it at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things.
Very sensible way to look at it.
It is. Not very often you get that either. Yeah, so once again, people didn't hear us before. If you want to send any questions across, get them across, and we'll go through as many as possible. So this one from Toby says, ahead of the transfer window opening, what players have any of yous signed on past FIFA career mode or Football Manager that we have then gone on to sign in real life?
Mikel Merino was mine. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No idea who he was. It's just the scouting guys found him, and I was like, oh, he looks all right. And yeah. And I actually think I signed him. I better not say because I might get wrong.
I've never been a massive player of Football Manager, to be fair. And when I'm on FIFA career, I just cheat. So I just put all the money in my
by Mbappe.
Yeah. So I just cheat that way. So I'm probably the worst person to answer that one. Marino's a shout though.
That honestly was, yeah, it was, yeah.
Great player.
Yeah. I think
I think of the
can't remember what FM it would have been actually. It might have been
Toby Shop actually says that he remembers signing Colaccini before we got him.
Oh, right,
I definitely signed Patrick Van Aanholt.
Random.
And then he came on loan. I want to say Kabay, but I can't remember if I signed him because we were signing him. Maybe. I've done that lots of times when we've been linked for players. And then I've gone and signed them.
Yeah.
Couple of shouts. Scott. Scott. He says he signed Willems. Tobias, he says that he used to sign Survey. Fish and Rods, Ben Offer. Dodgy Legs, Alan St. Maximum. The list goes on and on and on.
Someone signed St. Maximum before.
Apparently so. Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah. I can't believe I didn't know anything about him. Like, because when I seen his YouTube videos, everything I get excited for a player. I do. I love the flamboyance. I know Mark hates it, but I love all of it. I love all of the strap.
Do you love his defending? He's trapping back.
Love it.
His work rate.
Love it all, man. Love it all. And I'm just surprised I hadn't. I mean, I'm not saying he was pulling up trees in the French league, but like when I watched it, one YouTube video, I was like, whoa. Never seen this guy on any socials at any point in my life, and he's like doing backflips and that. I thought I would have seen him, but
another player, somebody that we mentioned last week, Luke Edwards is being out, Grim Reaper tonight, and he says the Henderson deal is off, won't be happening.
I think he did say that a while back as well, though, didn't he? When all of the noise was coming out of Manchester around it, he kiboshed it then as well, if I remember rightly. So. He does cover a lot of the Northwest football as well, so you'd expect him to have fingers in pies over there.
Are you disappointed if that is the case?
No, like I said last week, I don't think he's any real upgrade on Dubravka. So,
would you still, if that deal falls through, so the Henderson deal, let's say if it doesn't happen, are you still in the market for a goalkeeper?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
First choice?
No, I'm not first choice. No, I just keep looking at. I look at a few things with Dubravka, right? Not to cover all ground here too much, but his injury record is not amazing. It's just not, right? He's not getting any older. He has a clanger in him, like no question about that. He has a clanger in him, and I feel that if Darlow comes in, Darlow equally isn't good enough either. So I feel that I would love to see we get another goalkeeper to be more solid backup, really, maybe. And if Dubravka does go down for long term, for an injury or whatever it may be, you've got someone to step in. And I've given Darlow a lot of credit, and I've sat here and said, you know, is he deserve? Because when I say credit, the reason why I was giving Darlow credit is I had no confidence in him when he when he was getting called up because Dubravka was out. We're either having to see long periods of the end of the season with him, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is terrible. Or we're starting the season with him, and I'm like, I have no confidence. And do you know what it is? He did very well in that time that he was there. But if you said it was now, or you know, we are apparently, you know, we're trying to go for the Europa Conference, we're trying to finish in the top 8, and then Darlow's the person that's going to go then come mid-October because Dubravka's got an injury. I'm sorry, like that's not good enough. So you have to look at that position and strengthen it. That's what I feel.
I watched Ben Foster's podcast earlier today because he's just announced that he's leaving Watford when his contract expires at the end of this month. So the club out there, obviously they've been relegated. They're not going to renew his contract, so he's looking to move on. He was expecting it to happen anyway.
Do you want him?
And what he said was that he's probably at the stage of his career where he would go to a club as a number 2,
right? Like Carson, the Man City,
and he would, because he's 39. He said, but he's like, I might be 39, but not blowing smoke, blow my own trumpet, but I'm very, very fit. I've got a 0 body fat, blah, 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 all of this kind of thing. So obviously he does a lot of cycling and all that. So he says, I'm probably fitter than a lot of early to mid 30s goalkeepers, even though kind of me age is against this. He says, but I'm at that stage of career where I'd probably be happy being a number 2. He says, but if I went into a club and I looked at that goalkeeper who's this number 1, and I'm going in there and I'll work my socks off. But if I think I'm better than that goalkeeper who's number 1, then I'm not going to be number 2. And I thought that was a really good kind of attitude for him to have, of that, like, he's even thinking that, and he's probably not going to play every week, and he even said he didn't start this season as number 1 at Watford, and kind of...
Is Elliott also at Watford as well?
Rob Elliott, he's third choice down there. So he's actually had him on his podcast. He was good value on it. Good watch.
So would you be happy to go on that angle then, in terms of getting someone in that's really, really at the back end of the career?
To be fair, just to interrupt, there's a comment in there just for this one, and Blue Rhythm Boy says that he said that he would want to be a number 2 to a young keeper that he can develop, not a 30-year-old. So I think if he's up against somebody like Dubravka, then he probably would want to start, or at least try and do that, rather than be a mentor site. So
well, that's where I was going with it, is if he thinks he's better than that number 1, then he's going to be pushing to start, which is then going to put added pressure on that keeper that is that number 1, and going to bring out the kind of best in both of them. And that's kind of what you want from your number 2. And we spoke about when we're talking about Harper and Given, and Harper and Krul.
Because I seen a comment. I don't know how I seen it. I'm not sure how I seen it, but I seen a comment on what we talked about last week, and someone said that them didn't agree with that, and them thought that by having someone that's really challenging that number 1, it puts pressure on them, too much pressure, that they know if they do a clanger, they're going to be out and stuff. I
saw that comment as well, and I listened back to that podcast, and you actually make that point, saying that's a lot of pressure on the goalkeeper. If they're all like really close together in regards to talent-wise, performance-wise, you actually mentioned that point during that podcast, saying it can be quite harsh on the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I probably did, but I think I might have backed it up with I'm a believer in that.
And all for it, yeah.
I am, in terms of like it's just from I'm not going to get it right, but I just think if you've got someone breathing down your neck, it is going to make you focus and work hard and be the very best you can. Totally appreciate that the pressure's on, because if you do a mistake, you've got him breathing down your neck. But to reference your point of Harper and Given, that's what them live with, right? Harper was chomping at the bit to get in. Given was unhappy when Harper was in. And
do I have to keep? Well, sorry. Do I have to put that goalkeeper position in its own different category compared to the rest of the positions on the field? Because every other position we're sat here saying the more competition, the better. But then, obviously, on the back of last week's podcast, there was comments coming in saying it can be quite dangerous to have that competition as for your number 1 shirt.
I don't know whether I agree with that. I'm of that opinion that if to bring out the best in you, you want to have somebody snapping at your coattails, keeping you on your toes and performing at a top level. If you can't take that pressure, then you don't have the mentality to go to be the best that we need you to be.
So I don't know if I've took that answer the wrong way here. So if you so do you believe that then by having someone that's pushing you to be number 1 or to fight for number 1 is a good thing then?
Yeah.
Sorry. Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Got you. Yeah. Because I look at the other end of the field and look at being a striker. If I knew I had, I'm just going to reference someone who I love. If I knew I was a striker for Newcastle and Andy Cole sat on the bench, right? I know I'm going back. I think I've got to score some goals here, because he's going to come on, and I know how good he is. And I don't know, I just feel like that would make you. Whereas let's flip it, and you had no striker, you didn't have one. You'd be like, Doesn't matter how
Doesn't matter
bad.
what you
It really
do.
doesn't matter how bad I am. Do you know what I mean?
I would hate to be in that position. Well, in fact, I would actually, if I'm a professional footballer, I would love to be in a position where I know I could have an absolute stinking performance and still be guaranteed a place the next game. I could be the worst in training, still be guaranteed that spot come game time.
You could wear the number 10 for Newcastle United.
Knew it was coming. Knew it was coming. Knew it was coming. Knew it was coming.
But
Too easy, that one.
for me, I'm the same as you. The more competition, the better. The better. Staying on goalkeepers.
I suppose for 2 seconds, I suppose I'm saying everything we've just discussed there. If you look at the top team, you look at Man City, for example, them have literally got a 40-year-old as their second choice, and them just rely absolutely 100% on that.
I think
one
the
guy.
difference
However,
between
I
that
suppose
is the quality of the players.
Carson
Carson
was
as
third
well.
choice, though, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know whoever
I think
second was.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But like normally, like we used to be a bit of a joke when Man City would sign a 40-year-old. Was the other guy from used to play for West Ham, I'm sure, didn't he, or wherever it was?
He's actually so is
remember.
Carson not the oldest goalkeeper to get a Premier League?
It probably is. That
I
one
think he got it
before
last
him.
season.
Someone will mention in the comments. Another goalkeeper before him, the season before that one. He again was very, very old.
Well, Rafa tried to
you know.
sign Pepe Reina, didn't he?
Yeah, I would have been fine with that. Like, yeah.
So it's
I get it. Like, I get it. What I would also say though, to go back is like, I'm not being again. Man City's keeper isn't busy as much as ours will be. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it's like.
I think the whole Pepe Reina thing was similar to the Jesus signing that Rafa brought in. That was a signing that you wanted to bring in for the dressing room side of things. I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was the rumored thing there. Sticking with goalkeepers and going the opposite end of this game. So young goalkeepers. This one is from El Grande Salmon that says, if there was a young keeper in the Championship who had kept 20 clean sheets, we'd be interested. Yet we all dismiss Woodman. Should we? To me, I think we'll have to look back at when those clean sheets were and the time that we've had between that season in the Championship and the performances that we saw when he was between the sticks at Newcastle.
At Swansea, he had a fantastic season at Swansea. Nobody's denying that at
Everybody
all.
thought he would come back and challenge for that number one spot.
That's exactly what we thought, and he did get his chance at the start of the season, and it didn't go very well, did it? And
Would you give him another chance?
No, not a chance for me.
No.
He's still got time on his side.
He might have time, but like, I just think the Championship. I'll do what I just did before. I'll go at the opposite end of the pitch. Mitrovic. He's just brought the record, man. He scored 45 goals, 48 goals, or whatever it was, right? Absolutely. I love him to bits. Wish him all the best. But we already know that he couldn't do it. And no disrespect to Woodman, yes, I know he's meant to keep, 20 clean sheets and all the rest of it, but the step up is just so great, man. I mean, to be fair, ask Fulham and Norwich that question. Ask them, the full club. They're too good for the Championship, but they're nowhere near good enough for the Premier League. It's just the same, you know what I mean? It's really hard. And when Woodman came on, in fairness to the lad, I think he faced the record amount of penalties because I'm sure it was about 15 in a week because they had the penalty shootout against.
The penalty shootout.
Yeah, he didn't save one of them.
Lascelles didn't help him out. Like.
Lascelles didn't help him out either. But it was the Man United game for me that was almost disgusting, where he's just setting them up. Ronaldo's debut, he was just setting Ronaldo up. Like, it was just awful. And for me, like, again, and I'll go back to my comment again, if you are wanting to be the club here that's wanting to go for this Europa conference or around that era, that he cannot be in the goal. I'm sorry. He cannot be.
He went on loan to Bournemouth as well, and I think he played a handful of games and then couldn't get in the team. So,
and I'm not saying he's not a bad goalkeeper, but it actually goes right the way back to the first player we were talking about when you were saying potential, isn't it? He had the potential. That's why we had him. That's why we were sending him out alone and bringing him back, because we thought, it's actually he could be our number one. But unfortunately, it didn't.
I think it works once again. It works for both parties. I think Woodman, he needs to leave the football club because he knows for fine well right now he was never really second choice. The only reason he got his chance was because both our goalkeepers were injured.
Yeah,
that's the only reason he got that chance. It might sound harsh, but that's it. At the end of the day, both Dubravka and Darlow were injured at the start of the season.
The comment's a good comment though. The comment's a very good comment because. It's right, isn't it? If you said we didn't know who he was and we went, he's kept 20 clean sheets, you'd be like, hey, he must be Irish.
But that's why we signed Darlow.
Well, true, yes. You go back to Mitrovic. If you said now we're going to sign him, he's brought the all-time record of the Championship. Like, God almighty, he's a goal machine. It's that level. It's that difference in level is huge. It really, really is.
We've seen it at Southampton. Obviously, we had Armstrong who was doing it at Blackburn in the Championship, banging them in for fun. Goes to Southampton. It's not working out for him.
I love everything
It's-
about
it's
him
a
as well.
tough-
You know, as a player, I do
It's
like
a
him.
tough step up.
It is.
I mean, we've seen it ourselves with Dwight Gale.
Yeah.
You know, he's scored Premier League goals, but he doesn't do it as consistently as he did in the Championship days.
Yeah. And every season down there, he would do it as well. He did it for
100%.
when he went on loan, didn't he? He's just all the time. Just when he went to West Brom, banging them in. You know what I mean? Just
And Mitrovic is
Yeah.
always the name that gets bandied around, but it's not just here. He failed. He's failed at Fulham when Fulham came up as well. He couldn't do it then.
when you say do it, what's doing it then? Like as a Premier League striker, what's doing it? Tell us what the number is. If there's a number you can attach to it,
You've got to be getting 10, don't you?
you reckon 10?
Easy. Callum Wilson got 10. He was injured for half the season. 15, at least 15 for me.
You think that's doing it? So how many
for a decent season? For
There's not many.
I
That's
think
what I mean. There's not
There's
many.
not many. You'll get you.
I think a player like Mitrovic, which
He should be
he's a goal
first choice
scorer.
number 9 goal scorer
Yeah.
on penalties. The lot.
Yeah. If he gets 10 next season, he's had a very, very good season.
Because he's playing for Fulham as well, by the way.
For Fulham.
That's the.
I think if he gets 10 next season, he probably would look at going to a different club, depending on Fulham's finish in the Premier League. Because a 10-goal striker of a team like Fulham in the Premier League, that's a decent striker, that. It is.
I'm just doing
It's still going to be one of those bottom half of the table.
But then the argument against that is you could look at Norwich's Pookie. The first season they were up, didn't he? Score boatloads of goals as well.
everyone liked him, didn't they?
Yeah, everyone liked him.
He did score a lot of goals. I got to give him that.
To go through a few more questions.
So Jota scored 15. Mane scored 16. Like, I mean,
So
that's
that's some. And I know obviously
the argument-
Liverpool they share the goals around.
that's
don't
the
they? So
argument.
it's,
That's the argument of those teams.
Christ. Did he score that many?
Who?
Zaha scored 14. He was 9th.
he'll be their leading goal scorer. I
Bloody
would have
hell.
He's
thought.
not on pens as well.
He is like Mason
Yeah.
Mount 11.
So Callum Lewis says, this one is for everybody. He says, if you could choose a player to come out with a blue, who would you go for?
Maxwell Cornet were 9. Yeah, same as Jesus. Sorry, what was the question?
So
Apologize.
if you could choose a player transfer to come in, so a random out of the blue transfer, obviously has to be realistic.
Yeah.
Who are you going for?
I'd say Phillips from Leeds. For me.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I do like
I'll
him,
stick with Leeds, Rafinha.
Oh, okay. Could you take 2 flamboyant wingers? Could you take it?
Imagine.
Could you take it?
Load him, man.
Could you take it?
For all the wrong reasons.
God, yeah, imagine. He's not tracking Mark.
How about
He works
Brighton's? How about
Ish.
Brighton's goalkeeper? Just on the subject of goalkeeper,
Brighton's goalkeeper.
do you think we'd go back in for one of Brighton's players, or do you think we've done a bit too much damage to
yeah.
Brighton at the minute?
Yeah,
Do you think Ashworth will be like, oh, we better not do this one?
yeah. I would have some of their players though. I would. I must admit.
Do you think we'll go back at Brighton? Do you think we'll knock on their door anytime soon? Or like, do you think, oh, maybe we've done a bit too much to them?
The other one out of the blue for me, Nathan Ake. That would be nice.
He's been linked. He has been linked.
He hasn't been getting the game at Chelsea, City, has he?
He has. I take Basuma from Brighton as the player I would love. Absolutely
Well,
love. What a player.
I think he might. The Queen might be after him before we'll get him.
Who?
The Queen, Her Majesty.
I'm missing something here. Have I missed? I've
He's
still missed it.
under investigation by the police.
Oh,
Is he? What
Yeah.
for?
Was that another one?
That was him.
Or was that him?
Oh,
Was
is
it?
it really?
Touching.
Oh, really?
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
We've had this whole discussion before.
Have we?
Oh, well, well,
That shows you how much we remember.
sorry,
Jesus Christ.
well, as a player, as you know,
Allegedly.
taking the touching out the way there, I would love him. There was someone else you said there. Did you say him? Someone said a name there, and I was going to move on from that.
Nathan Ake, I said.
Yeah, no. Well, not for the prices quoted. Like you're talking 50 million. I was hearing. That's just insane money.
He went for decent money from Bournemouth to City, didn't he?
That doesn't mean the price goes up though, just because he moved once for big money. Like,
So-
you know what I mean?
No, but that's what I mean.
Right.
But he was a very, very good player. Obviously, somebody that Eddie Howe knows very well. Went to City with a big name, big price tag. It hasn't worked out from him there because of the people that are in front of him for him to get into the team. So he probably needs a bit of a fresh start. Maybe one that they'd possibly let him go out on loan.
What about
I'd be all
Zinchenko?
over that.
That's another name that's been linked.
Is it? Oh, I've
Man
never
City.
seen that one.
Yeah, he's been linked.
Yeah.
I watched something like
100%.
that. There was a clip which I saw, and it was
Fantastic player.
Kyle Walker talking, and I asked him the three most gifted players and technically gifted in the Man City squad, and Zinchenko was in his list, the
Was
top
it?
three.
Yeah.
He's a very good player.
So it was Silva, Zinchenko, and I can't remember the final one.
Foden not in there?
I don't think so, no. I don't know when it was
Mahrez?
recorded. It was Mahrez. Yeah, it was
Oh.
Mahrez. So those were the three, the top left, and even the presenter was a bit shocked.
Yeah, I would be as
Zinchenko's
well.
name was in
Yeah.
there, but the winner conversation was unbelievable. Like,
Right.
great player.
Oh. I think he's a very good player. Very, very good player.
They don't have many bad players like
No,
in
that's
fairness,
true.
do
Yeah,
they?
that's right. Yeah, of course.
So that's why maybe just a one that we could potentially do just because of the relationship that's there, and I'm not getting many games.
He has a name,
Good opportunity.
which may not be a good thing, but it's a name that which has been linked like hundreds of other names. Aston Villa's Mings.
He's minging.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's terrible. He's absolutely terrible.
Excuse me. I would be worried if
I'd
we were
rather
looking at
have
him.
Grant Hanley back than Tyrone Mings.
Yeah. I think is the lads. Every time I've watched him play, I can't question his attitude. I can't question, his admiration type of thing. But it's his ability is the problem.
Too much like Lascelles for me.
He is like the cells.
How does he constantly get called up for England?
I don't,
What has he got over Gareth Southgate?
I know, but there's always been these little media people, hasn't there? Like these like darlings that always get called up no matter what the performance is like. You've got Maguire at the moment, one of them. Like, no offense to him, but like how
Maguire normally performs well for England. That's a difference, isn't it?
maybe, but he
I think that's a
anywhere
bit
near
one,
that team,
a one where he's standing by his skipper with Maguire, isn't it?
But go back to the person we were talking about, Mings. I mean, God no.
I sometimes question whether he's actually is a professional footballer or if he's just won a competition to like go on the pitch.
There's times where he looks absolutely brilliant. He's he's definitely got the tightest brambles about him, like
100%,
where
yeah.
So what was a comment as well?
Oh,
I
was it?
mentioned that, yeah.
yeah, you can for an hour he looked like a Rolls Royce, and then all of a sudden he's like a bloody three-wheeler. But it is what it is. But no, absolutely not. And hopefully them are just. Well, to be fair, if I could be wrong, yeah, but these rumors came around when them stole Carlos, if you like. Them got Carlos. Oh well, have him type of thing. That was the things I was hearing. So
Another player that was linked in January, and I know last week's podcast it might be in that we said that we probably won't go back for the players that we're possibly linked with in January. But speaking about defenders and centre backs, to be specific on that one, Connor Cody.
Yeah, it's gone quiet, hasn't it? Played for England at the weekend.
He did, yeah.
Didn't do too badly.
Do you think the club are more looking at young players to bring in? So we might look at avoiding the likes of Connor Cody.
Well, Tarkovsky was the other one as well. It was the pair of them were the kind of the older, more experienced. And again, I think that's maybe was that based on the position we found ourselves in down at the bottom of the table, having to struggle and fight to stay in the league. And we were looking at names that were experienced, knew the league, knew what you would get from them, and work hard and fight for you. Do we want a bit more than that now? And that's maybe why we're setting our sights elsewhere.
do you not think though? See, because I'm more of the fences. I would bring in Connor Cody. I would bring in obviously, Ben, we are right at the start of this journey in terms of
So
what
the start of the
we
transition.
really, really are. And I remember thinking of Man City, other than Rubinho and that, and them ridiculous ones. But I remember Bellamy coming in. I remember Lescott coming in, Milner coming in. Probably only Given maybe came in at that point. I could be wrong, but it's players that are kind of within a reason being there and done it. I'm not saying Lescott's been there and done it, but he's an experienced Premier League player, and that's what Connor Cody is. And I think for this transition period for the next 2 to 3 years, it'll be amazing if we had a team full of that caliber. And we all know that in 4 to 5 years, them players won't be there. But my God, we would have shifted in them 3 to 4 years, though, if they're there. Do you know what I mean? So I'm actually a fan of that personally. But
they both are good players. That's why they are And I'm going to say this one. I've just slagged somebody else off for getting called up, but that's why they get called up for England, because the good players. Mings isn't, and he still gets called up. So I wouldn't be adverse to signing them.
Yeah,
I just think because.
So would you rather Botman than Cody?
I would say yes, based
Age.
just on age, potential, the capability of him. Whereas yes, Cody he'll run through brick walls for you. He'll head at everything away
he was
from
minute in our place. He stood out for me massively.
But he's an old fashioned centre half, isn't he?
He is. Yeah.
So whereas Botman, he's a bit more Rolls Royce.
Touch on another transfer, which once again being linked, Calvert-Lewin.
Everyone seems so against this one, and I think there's a hell of a player in there. Me personally,
The reason, well, I'm not against it, but the reason why he'd be pretty mid-tier me list of strikers to bring in is that injury record. You can't bring another striker in when you've already got one. With such a concerning injury record, you can't bring another one with one which is competing with that.
And he's going to cost you a fair amount of money because he's going to have that young English tax levied against him.
And he's been in the league. He's kind of
experienced.
I say done. It's a strong statement, but like he's been around, right? And everyone knows who he is. And I do agree with you that the money would be big. I think he is a good player, but there seems to be a lot of heat about him that people don't want him. But
I'm torn on it. I'm both of you. I think he's a very, very good player on his day, but he can't stay fit. And then that's
it could be a good trade off for Wilson then. That might be out. One comes back, one gets injured.
Time it right.
Time the injury.
I think, to be honest, I think it was only last season that obviously the injury was a concern. I can't remember what it was, a bad injury that he got. It wasn't like the niggling injury, similar like what Wilson gets. It was a bad injury, so it might be completely different next season. You might get a full season out of him. But for me, it's still a risk, that one, and I think that there's going to be other targets out there that will probably do just as good of a job.
I think the difficulty with that signing is I can't see him ever leaving Everton to come and sit on our bench.
He's not a bench sitter,
then I can't see how the deal will ever happen because he's not coming here to be second string. Like he'd move club to be their number 9 or whatever,
unless it gets to a point where Everton are reinforcing their striking options and he finds himself down the pecking list.
Well, yes, but I think then I still think he would venture to a club that would be willing to start him week in, week out. Yeah. He's definitely a Premier League striker. There's no getting away from that.
He's an Arsenal signing him. Arsenal signing, yeah. I think we'll go to Arsenal. If he leaves Everton, I think we'll go to Arsenal.
The other thing that would be a massive concern for me is his dress sense. It's out there, isn't it?
Shut up, man. It doesn't matter.
I was going to say that. When Chris was on about, is it his dress sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, last season was a bad season injury wise, but with that big one. Seasons before that, he's featured in most games. To be honest, with you.
He's a handful.
When he's on his game, he's brilliant.
I think he's meant me. Like I really do. Actually,
who's your ideal signing? So let's talk about players that they're probably just beyond that realm of possibility and reality that we could bring in. For me, it's Tammy Abraham.
Do you know what? Can I just say something? Because I've been looking at his name all night. So I've got a program in front of us here, which is 2017 February, Bristol City at home, and number 9 is Tammy Abraham for Bristol City.
No way.
He was on loan there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And we were talking literally that second ago about Calvert-Lewin. I was going to say I would love Tammy Abraham because I've been looking at his name all night. So
he's having a hell of a season.
He's absolutely class. He's absolutely class.
With Mourinho getting linked to the PSG job as well.
Did you not see there was clips of him training with England, and there's been a lip reader on it where he was talking with Alexander Arnold, and it's like something along the lines of, he's like, well done, Trent, I'll be with you next season or something like that, like as if he's almost saying like, oh, I could be coming to Liverpool. I didn't know whether it was like that or whether he meant, oh, I'll be coming into the Champions League or something like that.
Maybe people are just reading too much into a conversation.
Yeah. But he is class. I mean, I remember this. When he was at Chelsea and he was being linked with moves away, he was the one I'd love to have got in.
Yeah, it's tremendous. He's got everything. He's got everything. He really has. He's a fabulous, fabulous player. Like he really, really is.
So a few shouts, just people answering the question which I asked you. Keegan says Diaby or Abraham. So Tammy Abraham. Tobias Nunes.
Is that Diaby from Leverkusen?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, he's good. Like,
Yeah.
have you seen a player? Honestly, he is with both feet. I don't know what foot he is because he can use either foot. You know, honestly, the same.
I think he's predominantly left.
Is he?
Plays on the right and obviously cuts in.
Player with both feet. It's unbelievable to see how natural he is on both sides. Like, my given where we are in the situation, I would love Jesus.
That was going to be mine.
That was going to be. I'm so glad I said before. But yeah, I would just give him. You know, yeah.
It looks like that was done with Arsenal. That link.
Yeah. That would be one I'd love.
He knows the league. He's the kind of striker that we like, where he works hard. He's physical. He can be a bit of a shithouse. He knows where the goal is.
The game has moved on from what my traditional striker is. So my traditional striker is an Alan Shearer. You know, one that's
he's still got those.
Oh, he has, but he's more like a Wilson, isn't he? Where he'll come short for the ball. He's incredibly good. I'm not saying Shearer didn't come short for the ball, but what I mean is, back in the day, I used to love a target man. I used to love holding the ball up strong, lead the line. You know, could link up play and stuff, great in the air. That's what I loved. Whereas I feel personally, anyway, to be a really good team, you need a Wilson type of striker, which pretty much has it all. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like Jesus has that as well. He's an absolutely incredible player. Hasn't getting anywhere near enough credit being at City. Nowhere near enough.
He doesn't get enough games.
No, he doesn't.
And that's why I think you said before, he scored 10 goals this season.
10, I think it was.
So, you know, and that's in, you know, probably not even playing. I bet he hasn't played half the games.
Yeah. Another shout from Soul Logic says that Lodi would be perfect. So
it's gone quiet on him.
Trippier's mate from Atletico. Is that Brazilian? He's Brazilian, isn't he?
He's Brazilian.
Well, it seems to be after so many. It seems to be an easy link at the moment. I mean, I don't know. It's one of them, isn't it? It kind of makes sense, doesn't it? In one from just looking at it from what it is. If it's Trippier's made, it's a position that we're looking for. Let's go, right? It just seems right. But I'm still secretly looking for targets. So I'll always.
Is that the one that you want to left?
I do. I was speaking to someone the other day, and then we're like, oh no, like target's done great, but there is better out there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm well aware there's better out there, but for me, the sample size of what I seen a target, like, give me that for another couple of years is fine. Like,
I'm sticking with what I said last week. I think Target will be on the list, but he's not first choice on the list.
Mm-hmm. If it's a choice between Lodi and Target, it's Lodi.
I feel as if they were absolutely hell bent on Target, you know, like it would have been done. I think now I generally feel as if it would have been certainly more rumours anyway of it being pushed along the line. I just feel as if it's been a bit like, you know, we might sign him, we might not.
You'd hope that the conversation's been had between the two clubs in regards to price-wise, what it's going to cost to bring him in. And like I said, that might be a case of just back up where the club go in him. If we can't get first choice, the club just go, right, okay, Target had a fantastic season for last year. Villa want this much. Let's go get him.
Eddie Love had a conversation with him as well. I mean, he came out and said himself that he would be speaking to all of the players before they went off for the summer about the future and whether they were going to be at the club or whether he was surplus to requirements. So you would expect that conversations would have been had there around what they want to do. So
a comment by Mike P, who is a member of the channel, says, will Jamal Lewis be kept? Mark?
I still think so. I think, again, Eddie Howe made comments to him probably within the last month of the season where he talked about that he'd been carrying an injury and kind of...
something which none of them knew about, really was kept really quiet.
Yeah. I still... There's still a player in there. Yes, we didn't see the best of him when he came. I've said it a number of times. He was linked with Liverpool going there before he came to us, and you know the caliber of wing back that they've got. If they're interested in him, you know there's a good player. He just needs a little bit of time, a little bit of confidence, and to develop. He's a young player. We've seen it with other players where it's taken them a little while to settle in. We've seen it this season with the kid that was signed from Arsenal, whose name Joe Willock. Jesus, couldn't remember his name there.
I was going to go Isaac Hayden. I didn't know who he was talking about.
Joe Willock, where he struggled at the start of the season because he was struggling to settle in the area and all of that kind of thing. So, you know, he might have just...
Well, the way that
Just
Joe
give him a
Willock
little bit of
handled it was very well. He moved himself out to the sticks, didn't he, in Northumberland?
Mhm.
He said that he didn't want to be anywhere near the city centre because it was too much of an attraction to go out, and he wanted to focus on his football, and he wanted to focus on his career. So I think it's him and his dad that lived in the house, and he bought a dog to keep him company.
And you've got to respect that, haven't you?
Of course you do.
You've got to respect that massively, that he's willing to make them sacrifices, you could call them, to, I don't know, to not have the temptation or not to spoil what he's trying to achieve on the field, which is great, right? I think going back to Lewis, I think if you asked us this question in January or the end of January when the window was shut and we realised, I think we're sat here, right? We were here at the time and we heard that he wasn't part of the 25 man. I thought his days were numbered. But it's easy to make that statement when you haven't got all the facts. And if the facts were that he wasn't fit and he was injured and he had an injury that meant he wasn't even going to play a game anyway, well, all right, and why give him a shirt? Why give him a number if he's not going to play? I don't know. I think I have no problem with them having another opportunity. I have no problem with that. But if we're saying Target might not be signed because we're looking for better, then Lewis ain't gonna get a game anytime soon. Then, because he's, for me, Target's.
He's not going to be number one, is he?
Oh my God, no.
And that's
Oh my
why
God, no. He might be a
you keep him as a
as
our backup.
Of course, because I have to stress here, I understand games not played with 11 players. I'm well aware that there's many games, there's injuries, there's suspensions. I get all that. So, is it you bring in the player who you believe is the number one left back, which let's say it was Target, and then Lewis is the reserve to him? Then okay, all right, and then maybe Dumas your third because he's got 1 year left. So that's fine. Maybe that's absolutely fine. But as I say, just going back to, I remember at the end of January sitting here going, if he hasn't got a squad number, he's done. But I guess that's more down to injury than choice.
Yeah. Anything that you would like to add and have a quick chat about before we'll wrap this one up? Because we've been going almost an hour now. It's been quite quiet in the week of Newcastle, to be fair, hasn't it?
Yeah, which to be fair is not a bad thing as well.
No.
You know, I think obviously the best news is getting Dan Ashworth in the position. You know, we were happy last week that we knew he was coming. Now he's official. I think in the next few weeks, I think we'll see the movement begin. I think in and out. I think you'll see players leaving. I think in terms of players leaving, I think we're probably thinking Clark, right?
Well, but there's been some rumours this week around certain players that may have been told that the surplus to requirements, Clark being one of them, Isaac Hayden being another. They're the two names that have kind of came out. I think Jeff Hendrick is as well, but he's still got 2 years left on his contract, which is obviously a little bit of a
Hendrick was
there.
interviewed just a few days ago, I think, and normally a player refers to Newcastle as we, and he kept on referring to us as they, which I found quite telling as well.
He has been out away on loan though, so he's kind of going to be in that mentality of my club is.
I know it doesn't mean much,
who I've just been playing.
It's just weird hearing a player.
I think there's a lot of players, you know, that would like to get rid of tomorrow, but it's because of contracts. You know, if they're there for 2 or 3 years, they're just going to sit there. You know what I mean? It's tough.
There's a comment there by Fish and Rod that says, "What about Steve Bruce?" Because I did say we're going to talk a little bit about Steve Bruce. We'll briefly touch on it just for a couple of minutes. He's been running his lips once again. Still playing the victim in the whole Newcastle United saga. Taking a little bit of credit for the takeover as well by keeping Newcastle in the Premier League.
Taking all the credit.
Well, a chunk of it.
Bit of a Steve trait, that isn't it?
A chunk of it. He thinks he's got a point to prove now at West Brom, despite taking over West Brom in a decent position, and dropping down the ranks. Didn't even make playoffs, if I remember right. Why is he still chatting about it? Is it because the questions are being thrown at him, or does he still want to make the headlines because he wants to be portrayed as a victim?
I think it's a bit of both for me in that. Okay. I think that the interviews come along and it was always going to go down that route. They're not just going to do an interview with him and it's just going to be about West Brom. I think we were, obviously bearing in mind, either way, by the way, if we had went down, it would have come up. It would have been, oh, well, you were there, Newcastle went down, we've stayed up, the questions come. Obviously, his answers though are just classic Bruce, aren't they? They're classic what you would expect in terms of like, wasn't his fault and the chip on his shoulder and stuff like that. And I think
huge. That's a bag of chips on his shoulder. I mean, it's a full titty. That
no, it is. And I just think it's mad that like how the article. I didn't even read it all. Actually, I switched it off because I just couldn't
clip it as well. Yeah.
But like I was reading bits and I'm thinking like, God, the interviewer's not even like not even really challenging anything in regards to what you've done at West Brom. You've come in at a certain point of time. Now, don't get us wrong. I know they were fifth. Something must have been going on for them to sack the manager in the first place. I don't know that. I'm not a West Brom fan. I don't know.
The West Brom fans, when you looked at it, the West Brom fans, when Steve Bruce was appointed, they were saying it probably was the time to go for the manager, saying that performance was shocking.
Going wrong, yeah. So it had to be. So I know they were sitting fifth, but something must have been going wrong. However, that still doesn't mean that they have to fall as far as they did. But again, though, from like saying things like sort of, would the takeover have gone ahead if I hadn't have done what I done? I just think like comments like that, he's so out of touch, isn't he? Of why people dislike him.
So
he's got zero self-awareness.
He has zero, hasn't he?
Well, Scott says that Gallowgate Scott, says that the broke right in the article has been a Bruce supporter for years. Totally loaded questions.
Well, exactly, and I was going to actually say was
get Craig Hope on the case.
Him doing an interview with a paper or with a person, that person's licking his arse.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be there. That's why, to be fair, we haven't really heard from him. Haven't really, let's be fair. Other than the odd snippet off like West Brom sort of media, you know. But it's just as Mark said, zero self-awareness and just the same old comments that you know is going to come, and people still get very riled at, you know.
Well,
we need a deluded world of Steve Bruce Twitter account setting up, don't we? Just to share all these little gems.
Hopefully it's not you.
He's deluded as the government.
Like John Carver's tie.
Send one drunken tweet and never use it again.
Have you ever seen that wedding site, Steve Bruce wedding?
Best.
Brilliant.
That's one of the best things
it's unreal
ever. That one.
Absolutely unreal.
It really is.
That reminds us of the. I've seen all the photos flying around today of the little prince at the Jubilee, where he looks like a.
Doesn't he?
He looks like looks like a football manager.
He really does. I was thinking like Southgate at the World Cup or something. Like I really did.
Right, look class. Right. If
memory for Tiote, by the way. Memory for Tiote. It was
Tiote this week. It was this week. Yeah.
To
be fair, it's just on the back of that with the Tiote mentioned there. Is it 5 years?
5 years.
5 years since he's passing.
It's here comes his van story.
To see that to see the club acknowledge that, and not just that, we're seeing the club acknowledge different things now. So previous players, managers' birthdays, this time X amount of years ago, clips from previous games and that. It's great to see something which we haven't had. We really haven't. They were so shackled by the previous ownership, what they were allowed to post. Like Shearer wouldn't get a mention. Kevin Keegan wouldn't get a mention and stuff like that. And for the club to do that, by all means, of course, you would expect it for a player who has passed. But it's just great to see it acknowledged. It really is. It is.
On the players that have passed as well, it was nice to see all of the acknowledgement Gary Speed got yesterday. With obviously Wales qualifying for the World Cup.
Some lovely ones,
first time, I think it was 84 years or something like that.
And
that they've qualified.
A very special mention to Albert, who's passed away as well, for Total Sports.
Yep.
Albert, who used to ring in every single night. Got the opportunity, Total Sport, got him to interview Rafa a handful of years back as well, which was absolutely fantastic viewing as well. He was a caller who used to ring in every single night. He was great. He really was great. But yeah.
That is it now.
That is it now. That is it now. And we do have a podcast coming this week as well. So I will be sat right here with 3 people from War Flags on Thursday night as well, which is going out as a live podcast. That will be chat only to members as well. So that's one of the perks of becoming a member of the Gallowgateshots YouTube
channel. How do you become
channel.
A member of the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel,
so
Chris?
You can become a member if you go in the description of this video. There is a link. It is $2.99 a month to become a member, and you get early access to videos. And coming up next season, you will get opportunities to chat with different people as well and ask questions to guests on the podcast as well. So by all means, do so if you can do. And that's us done. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And we'll catch you all next week. See you later.